From the KELP studio in El Paso, this is 915 Talk.
And now your host.
Good afternoon, beautiful citizens of the borderland. This is 915 Talk, and I am your host, Andy Frecka. We are broadcasting on this beautiful Monday, April 7th, year of our Lord, 2025. And we have... Are we good? Are we good, Mac Daddy?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. All right. I just heard another sound.
Yeah, no. We're good on this end.
Okay. You know what? That was me. That was me, Mac Daddy Del Norte. How you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
You scared me there for a minute.
Yeah, I was looking at you. That was 100% my fault. That's my computer sitting in front of me. We are live today. As you can tell, it's April 7th, year of our Lord, 2025. We are broadcasting via amplitude modulation at 1590 AM, frequency modulation at 95.9 FM, streaming worldwide at KELPradio.com, 89.3 FM up in Las Cruces, and we are also on YouTube Live.
Yep.
And that's what was playing on my computer because...
Making sure we're live.
Yeah. And so if you go to 915 Talk on YouTube, it's absolutely free to you, dear listener. And you can subscribe, and that helps us out. And if you have any questions for our guest today, you can also use the comment section there or on the KELP Christian Radio Facebook page. But Mac Daddy Del Norte, you're relatively new to this radio ministry.
Yes, definitely.
But you know it's not always easy.
No,
it's not always easy. But I have some good news.
Oh, what's that?
Well, it looks like things are turning around for us, Mac Daddy Del Norte.
Nice.
I got an email today.
Oh,
I know it's to me because it says, "Dear beloved friend, I know this message will come to you as surprised, but permit me of my desire to go into business relationship with you."
Wow.
Someone's offering me a business relationship. I am a prince, son to the late, I don't know the next word, of Libya, whom was murdered during the recent civil war in Libya. I got this in my email. This guy's going through it. And anyway, his dad left him with, according to the email, $4.2 million.
Oh.
Yeah. And it says, please, I will offer you 20% of the total sum for your assistance.
Wow.
Things are looking up, Mac Daddy Del Norte.
I wonder what he needs.
Yeah, well, he just needs me to, I think, just give my bank account information. That's what your immediate response would be: appreciated, remain blessed, Prince. And so it looks like all our problems are behind us, Mac Daddy Del Norte.
Wow.
Yeah, we can really take this radio ministry to the next level.
Definitely. That'll help us out a lot.
So I hope our listeners know I am 100% joking right now. But we are going to be talking today about internet scams.
Yep.
Internet fraud. I think I'm sure. Have you got an email like that before, Mac Daddy?
Oh yes, not only emails, text messages, WhatsApp, especially WhatsApp. That's one of the platforms that
I know, right?
Yeah, it gets used a lot for that. Yeah. People wanting to just give you millions of dollars,
and
if you provide them your account.
And you know what? I think the mistake when we talk about fraud, when we talk about scams, which we're going to talk about, those are two different things, is we always think that we're smarter than that.
Yeah.
But the people who are scamming, they're out there just 24/7 coming up with new ideas all the time. So we'll talk about some of the new things that are out there.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those new scams. And before we get into the conversation, I would remind our listeners that we're just going to be two guys talking, me and my very special guest. Yes, and this is nothing on this broadcast is in any way to be construed as legal advice. Always, we're just two guys talking. Everything we do is for informational purposes only.
Yep.
But our guest today is special, not just because he is a unique expression of an endlessly creative God, but also he's a good friend. He and I, Mac Daddy Del Norte, you're not going to believe this. He's such a good friend. He's the only person I've been searched with by CBP. They had a spread eagle up against a van at a checkpoint, and it wasn't my fault. I don't think we'll have time to get into that story today.
Wow.
But it was certainly exciting. They had a dog running through the van. We were just trying to be helpful and help out some friends, but here we were. Being, I don't know if detained was probably too strong of a word, but I was spread eagle getting frisked. That was exciting. But he's known for doing IT for a large number of local businesses and also churches, but he's become really intent lately on informing people about scams. And I think it is important for our listening audience to be made aware of many of these scams that are out there and be well informed. So without further ado, wherever you are, whether you're in beautiful Hatch on this sunny afternoon or you're just driving home to Fabens, maybe you're out in Canutillo, enjoy that I-10 before they start that Spaghetti Bowl Junction road work out there on Artcraft. But wherever you are, let's give a very warm Borderland welcome to the one, the only, Mr. Terry Speicher. Terry, welcome to 915 Talk.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah,
good to be here.
Yeah, so we have a lot to talk about. We won't get into why we were searched by Border Protection.
I will say it was my fault.
That's great. But we have a lot to jump into here with scams, with fraud, with all this that goes along in the internet. But in talking to you, I've come to see that this isn't just part of your business. It's something that's almost personal to you.
Very, yes.
Why are you so focused on scams and on, educating folks on how to avoid scams?
I think that for me, honesty is paramount in my life. And I'm surprised that other people don't and don't have that strong of an honest foundation when it comes to business dealings, when it comes to secular and even Christian dealings. But to me, lying and being dishonest it just really gets me riled up. Mm-hmm. And so when you talk about scamming, and we're going to talk about some of the different situations that we've encountered, mm-hmm. I just can't even tell you how it makes my blood boil. Mm. And so anything I can do to help prevent scams, to help people protect their money, to help people stop from being cheated, defrauded, I'm all for it. I want people to understand, and I want to, and I run an IT company, mm-hmm. and many of my customers will, I've told them, it's easier for you to ask me if it's a scam rather than get scammed. Because I can real quick answer a telephone call or an email as to whether or not something's a scam. It's much easier than cleaning something up if you do get scammed.
Right.
So it's important to have and be proactive, like you said.
Right. And were you seeing people get scammed? Is that part of what was the impetus for you to take this deep dive into this subject?
Well, I've always had to deal with this in my business, in IT. You mm-hmm. often deal with it. I remember another letter that someone staying at our house got just like that, and she was taken in by it. She thought, and she had her own ministry. Wow. And she was thinking, wow, I'm going to get $7 million, and she brought us a printout of it and was bragging about it.
Wow. Yeah, I was only offered 2.
I know. Well, times have changed, inflation. But and one of the key things with that was it was hard to convince her that it was a scam. Yeah. Because she was so taken in by that. Mm-hmm. The emotion of it, the hope. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's greed, sometimes it's love, sometimes it's romance.
Right.
But the emotions take you in on that. Yeah. And it's very difficult to deal with, and it helps to have somebody else look at it. And even in this case, and even in yours, take a little section of the email mm-hmm. and copy it and paste it into Google and see how many other people have posted that they got scammed.
Oh, very interesting. So if you receive an email, what you're saying is if you receive an email that seems a little bit too good to be true.
Usually is.
Yeah, right. Copy and paste that email into Google and see what other emails come up.
You'll see real quick that it's a scam.
Right.
And in the seminars that we've done, the seminar that we've done, I have the audience yell out, "It's a scam," because 99.9% of the time when someone brings something like this to me, it's a scam. Mm-hmm. In fact, I can only remember one time when one of my clients brought something to me asking me, "Is this real or not?" And it was real.
Yeah, I didn't even think of this before we went on air, but you mentioned your friend who was in ministry who was taken in by an email similar to what I kind of jokingly referred to at the beginning of the broadcast.
As your windfall.
Right, yeah. But it strikes me, KELP is Christian radio, it's faith-based. A lot of our listeners are praying for miracles. Mm-hmm. And they might see that email as being the answer to their prayer.
Yeah.
And so they lose sight of the reality of the situation. And so it might be that we as the body of Christ, as Christians, could be more susceptible to some scams than most folks
sometimes it's just the emotion. It's
right.
It's being susceptible. I think you hit on that key.
Right.
Because we've seen fear is a big one,
mm-hmm.
and greed.
Right.
Is another one. And whether it's, you may, I know you were joking about yours.
Yeah.
But you're right. That much money could do so much good.
Right.
But it's because it appeals to a need that you have right now.
Right.
Whether that may not be the sinful kind of greed that we read about in the Bible where you're just all evil and going to do bad things.
Yeah.
But there's a need that's there.
Mm.
So it's the fact is that emotions drive us.
Right.
To get scammed.
Yeah. Yeah. Emotions. So you mentioned fear, you mentioned greed. What
romance.
Else would be? Romance.
We've dealt with a lot of scams that happen due to romance. People contact you, you kind of start a relationship, and it sometimes, and if you what's that term? Long game.
Okay.
Someone who's trying to scam you, they start a relationship with you, and usually it's texting, maybe videoing, but it's a long-term thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can go on for more than a year.
Yeah.
And then at some point, they feel they've got a good relationship with you, and they start asking for money.
Right.
Oftentimes, they can be a little darker than that. Sometimes it can be exchanging pictures, and then possibly a blackmail.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
yeah, I have received such texts before, and I always just imagine that it's not actually a girl texting me; it's a guy.
Yeah,
which I think is.
And I've gone on the internet and taken pictures, stock pictures, of people and posted it back to them, like, "Oh, is this you?"
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't ever engaged, but you're having fun with it. I like that. Yeah, I think that's one of those things with any kind of scam, that emotional thing. I what I've seen in my experience is the emotion is fear and urgency. And if you don't do this now, if you don't respond somehow, then you're going to have a terrible consequence, and you lose sight of reality. And I don't want to name any names, but my wife, Rachel, was scammed once. She'll forgive me for saying that. It was when we were living in Russia, and it was someone calling saying they're from the bank, and your account has been compromised, and we have to get you back on board and, fix everything. But to do that, we need your account information.
Yeah.
And they were so convincing and so businesslike, and it was so urgent that my extremely intelligent wife, we lost a little bit of money, and so I think that fear, that urgency is one that I've seen.
Well, I'm gonna jump in here and answer a question that I know you're going to ask preemptively.
Okay.
Whether or not I've ever been scammed.
Right.
And I'm going to say that
Terry Speicher, have you? You have a website, identifyscams.com.
Yes.
And I recommend that to the audience. Identifyscams.com. It has red flags, just links, scam notes. It's really, really well set up. But Terry Speicher of identifyscams.com, have you ever been scammed?
So let me define this.
Okay.
Being scammed doesn't mean that I've lost money.
Okay.
Okay. But there have been times where I have fallen for a scamming scheme.
Okay.
One time, and this is the one I use when we talk about fear. I know this stuff. Mm-hmm. All right. Trust me. I know that I'm teaching it. I can identify scams. I love to identify scams. Yet one day, and my wife will attest to this, I got a phone call, and it was someone representing that they were from a law firm, that they had gotten a judgment against me, that they had filed a lawsuit.
Okay.
And this person was good. They were talking fast. They had all the legal terminology. Bam, bam, bam. They were just going right through it. So much so that it threw me. And I'm like, because I know, and I've told you, but in our seminar, we talk about legalities, and this is one of the reasons why. We talk about civil cases. We talk about criminal cases and the differences and the processes that you go through so that you know the truth, because the Bible says, know the truth will set you free. And in this case, if you know the truth, you can really help identify these scams. I know what it takes to file a lawsuit. I'm not a lawyer, but in general.
Right.
But this one called me and told me that we had a judgment against us. I had to identify, I needed to pay money right away, and I'm like wanting to look it up, and she just really got me flustered.
Wow.
And even, I guess you could say, inside me, I knew it was a scam, but it still got my emotions. It really hit that fear emotion in me.
Yeah.
And I called my wife afterwards, and my wife's so sweet. She just told me, it was a scam. And I'm like, yes.
But you still
You're
engaged.
Right.
You still
I know
engaged.
it was.
Yeah.
But I was shaking.
Right.
It was so upsetting.
Right.
So you imagine that. That's what scammers will want to do. They will want to hit on some emotion.
Right.
Fear, greed, or romance are usually the emotions that they hit on.
Okay.
So that one I got had. I fell for it, even knowing the difference.
Right.
So that's one of them. We might talk about more.
Right, of course. So what is the one red flag you tell people to watch for when they get an email, text, or call that might be a scam?
So if it's an email, and I heard it when you were reading your email at the beginning, your facetious email,
Yeah.
the English grammar. Remember back in grade school and junior high when you had to diagram sentences?
I do. Mrs. Harima had us really work on those in the second grade.
It's one of those times English can save your life. Because look at the grammar on these. It's usually written by foreigners, and so the grammar is imperfect.
Right.
You know that
mistakes.
if you get a letter from a bank and it has a typo on it, that's rare.
Right.
Right? Because that's their job.
They don't
to be
make
good
those mistakes.
communicator. They don't make those.
Right.
So if there's any mistakes or if it just sounds weird, it's a scam.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if that holds true a year or two from now with how AI is writing so many things. But for now, that is one red flag.
Yep.
That's
the red flag for emails.
Right. Okay. And what about text messages?
Text messages, same thing. I'll give you a couple other of the common scams that happen, especially through text messages. But as far as phone calls go, a foreign accent is the dead giveaway. And I'm not saying every foreign accent is a fake email. I mean, I talk to people all over the world. I talk to all different kinds of accents.
Right.
I love it. I love when I hear different accents. I want to know what country they're in, because I hear all kinds of things in the background.
Yeah.
And I love it. I like knowing where people are.
Yeah.
But when someone's calling you and trying to play on one of these emotions, if they have an accent, it's usually a scam.
Right. And I think there's one accent that is more prevalent than others. And I love India.
Yeah, me
I've
too.
been there 4 or 5 times. I was part of a church planting movement there. I would love to go there again. I just love it to death. But somehow, many of the
Call centers.
are out of India. Many of the scams are out of India.
They are, yeah.
And that's not to say just because there's that accent.
No. And I'm not saying that everyone that has an Indian accent is a scammer.
Right,
I'm
of
saying
course,
you're looking
yeah.
for red flags.
Right.
When you have someone calling you saying that they're from an auto insurance or Medicare or the government or Social Security, if there's an accent, you're like, wait a minute.
Right.
Then just take that as a red flag.
Yeah, and occasionally it could be legitimate, but slow
It's
down.
rarely legitimate.
Well, I'm just saying.
I know.
But
that's just the red flag.
Yeah, it's one of the red flags for sure.
Because Social Security is not going to call you. Do you know how long it takes to get a letter from them? They don't call.
Oh, right. They're like the FBI. They just show up.
Yep.
No. Right. Okay. So for a call, one of the things to look out for, it's similar to email. It's clearly not someone in America.
Yeah. Okay. And it can be. It's just usually not.
Right. So text messages are, there's been this text message scam that's been going out everywhere. It's you owe money for
tolls. Yes, that's the current one.
And that's super popular right now.
It is.
And I've noticed that it's never from an American telephone number.
Yeah.
And
it could be. A lot of them are.
Okay. All the ones I got, I forget the country code, but it wasn't the U.S.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I have gotten toll notices from other countries, but I haven't been outside the United States for a minute, so I know that this is not legitimate.
Right.
What else would you say about emails or WhatsApp or other messaging services?
You have to remember, and this happens a lot of times with computers. You go to a website and it pops up and says you have a virus or that something's wrong with your Microsoft. Mm-hmm. Or you get a text message saying you owe tolls. Those are not viruses. Those are not anything that you have to worry about. Well, if you've got an IT person, check it out if the computer says you have a virus. But the point is, a lot of times on computers it's called scareware. It's just there to get you to make a phone call. Because that's just the bait.
Right.
The hook is when you make a phone call.
Right.
So when you go, if you're getting a text message about these tolls, when you click on it and you go to a website, then you're going to want to, at some point, someone's going to ask you for money.
Right.
And that's when you know it's a scam.
Yeah. So a lot to unpack here. We do need to take a break. We are with Terry Speicher. You can check out identifyscams.com website that he's built just to help folks out. If you have questions for Terry, you can put those in the 915 Talk YouTube page. We are monitoring those messages if you have any questions. This is our daily reminder that 915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media. And to listen to all of our 915 Talk conversations, you can visit desertvoice.media. Also, if you believe these conversations are important, we would love to get your prayers, your support, and all that information is there on that website as well. We're going into a break. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
Thank you for joining us for these daily conversations on 915 Talk. We believe that these community-centered discussions are key for us to learn how to better serve our city and love our neighbors. 915 Talk is listener-supported and is produced by Desert Voice Media. Your support matters as we endeavor to serve our community. Our website is desertvoice.media. That's right, that's the webpage, desertvoice.media. Your donation of any amount on desertvoice.media provides the fuel for this broadcast. Let's learn together to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory.
Hey, this is Pastor Ricky Alcantara from Better News Radio right here in El Paso, Texas. And I want to extend a special invitation to you to join us on Easter Sunday. Our church, Cross of Grace, is going to be gathering in a special off-site service at McKelligan Canyon. We hope to fill up that amphitheater with people singing about and hearing about the good news of Jesus Christ. You can find more information on our special Easter service at crossofgrace.net.
915.
Testify.
I used to be a very angry person at the world, being young, having kids, having a wife, being a father, just meeting those expectations that the world puts on you. It's not about the world, it's about, your relationship with God. And I didn't realize that until I was older, and because I was living a life that I shouldn't have been living a sinful life, living for the flesh instead of living for God. I was hanging around people I probably shouldn't have hang around with, you know, drinking, going out to parties and coming home like 2, 3 in the morning. There was one day that I completely broke down. My son was asking me like, Dad, how come you're like this? How come you're always mad? And yeah, that day I did end up bringing out my Bible. I just broke down and started crying, you know, because I felt the way Paul felt. Read your Bible, guys. I mean, if you don't know what to read, go into Proverbs, go into Psalms. God, he's protected me in so many different ways. He's the reason why I'm here. I'm trying to help other people reach God. He could truly change your life. My name is Miguel Ipave. I'm from El Paso. And if Jesus did this for me, I know he could definitely do it for you.
And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb
And by the word of their testimony.
KELPradio.com. We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you're listening to 915 Talk. Today we have Terry Speicher in the studio. IdentifyScams.com is his website, and we're talking scams, fraud, all of that. I want to say good stuff, but really, really bad stuff. And Terry, I want to talk a little bit about how one of the other identifying characteristics of a scam email, and that has to do with the address it came from. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, it's difficult without a visual, but I'll try to do my best to describe it very simply. When you get an email, oftentimes there will be a link in there wanting you to click on it.
Mm-hmm.
You can, in most browsers, hover your mouse. That means just put your mouse over top of the link, and it will pop up a little tiny window that gives you the address you're going to go to if you were to click on that. So in there is what's called a domain name, and it's what is at the end usually of what you're going to click on. And it's very difficult, like I said, to explain it without a visual. But for example, if you get an email from Amazon, it says click on this link to log into your account, and you hover over that link and it wants to go to Timbuktu.com.
Right.
You know that that's fake.
Right.
Because Amazon.com is going to be where you go to for an Amazon email.
Right.
And that's for a web link. Now, for the email, when you look at it, you're like, wait a minute, this didn't come from Amazon. If you look up to see at the top where it came from, it may say Amazon, but that's just the display name.
Right.
And if you hover your mouse over that, if it doesn't show the real email address, hover your mouse over it, and it will show you the real email address. Because I promise you, Amazon is not going to email you from a Gmail address.
Or it could be something like Amazon Solutions at, and then a very long, weird
Cryptic
name.
or something else that someone else registered.
But if it was actually from Amazon, it would say
Amazon.com.
At Amazon.com.
Right. So that's, and you know, from our seminar and the feedback that we've gotten from that, that seems to be the biggest thing that people took away, saying they wish we had spent more time on explaining that aspect. And like, oh, I never knew what that was. I didn't know how that went. So we're trying to put together some educational materials that will show people exactly, very simply. And you know, when I say this, these are elderly people. You know, you ask about our mission and our goal, and a lot of this has started because of elderly people getting scammed.
Right.
And it's terrible when you lose half of your life savings or more because you got scammed.
It's more than terrible.
Yeah, it's you know, again, going back to my inner self, is like, that really gets me. So I'm going to try to get the word out. So being able to identify where an email comes from, or where who really owns a website.
Right. And so I do want to mention, you kind of touched on it, but you are running seminars, workshops for churches, businesses, helping employees, church members, whoever the case may be, identify scams. And you made the point, it's hard to describe some of these things on the radio. You need a visual.
Right.
And that would be a reason to have Terry Speicher come into your church or your business and share, because you have the PowerPoint up on the screen. You're showing exactly what you're talking about. So it's extremely clear to those people who are there.
Right.
Yeah, so love that you're doing that. Again, we're with Terry Speicher, IdentifyScams.com. .com. We need to be having these conversations. We need to be supporting each other. And because, again, that kind of theft is beyond terrible. But on that very scary note, Charlie One, what are you seeing out there on the roads today?
Well, we're not doing too bad, Andy, but a couple of things here, because that's where we have some heavy traffic right now. I-10 East, Spaghetti Bowl area, typical slowing. You have that slowing there, I-10 East, Spaghetti Bowl area. CD lanes west and Mesa, slow up right there. But then also I-10 east at Zaragoza, Gateway east at Zaragoza, just some busy, heavy traffic. And that includes also that Gateway east leading up to Zaragoza once you get off of the freeway there. So caution in those areas. And Joe Battle South and Bob Hope, they take away that right lane still for construction there. And Border Highway West and Midway, right lane taken away. And while I'm on the Border Highway, just want to mention one thing. There's a scam going around on the Border Highway. You might get scams saying that you owe toll. You owe some toll, for using the Border Highway, that you owe so much money for the toll. But no, there's no toll charges on the Border Highway, but they try to scam you and scare you, saying that if you don't pay up, blah blah blah, Border Highway West. But no, there's you can use the Border Highway westbound. There's no toll that goes on there.
Absolutely, yeah. Charlie One. I appreciate that, and tell our listeners about the Daily Menudo, Charlie One.
Well, we got that menudo, delicious menudo. It'll really it'll wake you up if you have trouble waking up in the morning. That'll wake you up. Muy Polito Cafe. 3120 Traywood, open 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tomorrow also, breakfast, lunch, dinner special, the delicious menudo. If you're on a diet, we have the vegetarian options, the 935 Comida Corrida. We Polito Cafe, 3120 Traywood. Andy?
Yeah, thank you, Charlie One. We'll talk soon.
You bet.
Yeah, and thank you, Charlie One. And I also want to take a moment to thank the KELP Radio Impact Partner, Caring Companions. If you have an elderly loved one who is in need of some help at home, or you're just needing to get out of the house from time to time, check out caringcompanionsep.com. Really good people over there. And I have friends who use them. They highly recommend them. So very glad to have them along for the journey in this radio ministry, caringcompanionsep.com. Before we had the traffic report, we were talking about how to identify if an email is legitimate. We were talking about just hover your mouse over the email address, see if it's from a legitimate email address.
Right.
And we had a listener called in. His name's Shane. He asked about Facebook Marketplace scams, and that's where I almost got scammed.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. So I was selling a freezer on Facebook Marketplace, and I might get the details wrong, but I think I was selling it for $450. And I immediately had someone write, and they said,
I'll pay you more.
No, I'll pay you, but I need to send you the money right now. And I said, don't you want to take a look at it? And they said, well, I'm out of town. I need someone else to pick it up. I'm ready to pay you right now. And it's similar to what you said. You know, my sensors were already up, like this doesn't seem right, but I wanted it to be right. And so they said Zelle, which is a way to send money. They said, we need your email address to send the money on Zelle. So I sent them my email address, and they then wrote back and they said, we've been flagged by Zelle. Check your email. You should receive an email from Zelle customer service. Do you know where this is going, Terry?
I think so.
Yeah.
We just need your password.
Yeah. Well, no. I get an email from Zelle, and they said they sent you the money, but it's tied up because it's a business account. I don't remember exactly what it was, but basically to free up the $450, you need to send them $300.
That makes sense.
Well, isn't it interesting, Terry, when you're in that moment? I just want to have a moment of vulnerability. I did not, don't worry, I didn't send the money. But I stopped for a minute and I was like, wait, I'm selling the freezer. Why do I have
Why am I giving you money?
Yeah, exactly. And then I did exactly that because the email from Zelle, it had the Zelle logo. It looked official. I mean, the whole thing looked very official. and then I did exactly what you're talking about. I hovered my cursor over the email, and it was not from Zelle.com.
Right.
And so I might have told those scammers to take a hike.
Yeah.
But what else are you seeing on Facebook Marketplace? Anything else?
On eBay, I know. I don't know if it happens on Facebook Marketplace, but we do have a friend of ours who was selling a car on eBay. And I haven't sold anything on eBay in a long time, but I do know that when you're selling something, you will very quickly often get offers. And, you're very excited, right? So there's that emotion.
Right.
It's going to happen
Exactly.
quick.
I sold the freezer.
Excellent. Good. And then so you're just like, whatever they say, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll work with you. We want to help you out. We want to make this happen.
Right.
So anyway, he was selling a car, and it was someone who was out of town, and so they were going to have to pick it up. So they said, what we'll do is instead of, we'll send you the $6,000, but we're actually going to send you $7,500, because then the people are going to come pick up the car, and we need you to pay them the extra $2,500 or $1,500 to, for the transportation. So they do. They send a $7,500 check.
They sent the money.
They sent the money.
Okay.
The person came, picked up the car, and they gave them the $1,500 and the car with the title. But then what happens? The check is bad. It's a fake check. So it takes a couple of days to clear the bank.
Wow.
In the meantime, the title's already been signed over, and the car is gone.
Wow.
No recourse.
No recourse.
No. So anytime, that first offer that you get on Facebook Marketplace or eBay,
Yeah.
it's usually a scam.
Yeah, and I do want to say it. I told my story. What is even more funny about it is Facebook Marketplace is bending over backwards to stop these scams. And as a matter of fact, it warned me about that exact scam when I posted the freezer. And I still was sucked into this thing. And like I said, fortunately, I stopped before sending any money, because why am I sending someone money so that they can buy my freezer? But it gets back to that emotional part, which we talked about at the beginning of the program. You're so caught up in emotion, greed. Could it be greed? Fear? I don't know. Excitement? Like I got rid of my freezer.
Mm-hmm.
It was
It's
taking.
done.
Yeah. I've done the job.
Yep.
Exactly. I'm bringing. I took care of it. Now I won. I'm going to show my family that I got it out of the carport. I have some money. We did it.
I want to go over something that you've kind of touched on for a minute, and that is Zelle. Right. Some of the rules with Zelle are changing. I don't think they've changed yet, but Zelle is no recourse.
Oh, wow.
So you send the money to somebody and you can't pull it back. So if I use a credit card to buy something, and it doesn't show up, I call my credit card company and I say, it's fraud, and they give me the money back, or they take the charge off of my card. Zelle doesn't work that way.
Oh, interesting.
Which is one of the reasons Zelle is cheap. It's like a bank-to-bank transfer.
Right.
And very easy. So I want to warn people about some of the things that are keys and what I call red flags to scams.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, anyone asking for money, you should be very wary. If they ask Zelle or Cash App, and there are other different types of money transfer services you can use, but especially Bitcoin, of course. And most people don't know what Bitcoin is or how it works, but one of the scams that we saw with someone we know that kind of started this seminar that we're doing happened with Bitcoin, with a person who was elderly, never had any Bitcoin, didn't know what Bitcoin was. But the scammer had them go purchase Bitcoin at an ATM that's made for Bitcoins. And the scammers, even if they're in India, they know where those machines are, because they can look it up on the internet.
Wow.
They can look up your address, and they can tell you where to go get Bitcoin. And you put your money, your cash in, it turns it into Bitcoin, and you send it to them. There is no recourse with Bitcoin. You can't get it back. You can't force someone to give it back. So anytime someone is calling you, especially if it's a government agencies don't take Bitcoin.
Right.
So if they're asking for Bitcoin, if they're asking for Zelle, it's a fake.
Right. And I'm doing fact checking as you're talking. And I Googled Zelle no recourse, and it says Zelle payments are generally final and cannot be reversed, offering no recourse for scams or fraud, especially if the recipient is already enrolled. And then it goes on to say, however, if you believe you've been scammed, contact your bank or credit union and consider reporting it to the Federal Trade Commission.
And contact them as soon as possible.
Right.
The sooner the better.
Right. And I would say in conclusion, and good luck.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to say Zelle knows about this because even I forget what it was, but it was in my family, people I know and trust fully. We were sending each other money on Zelle recently, and Zelle asked us like 5 times, "Are you sure?
Do you know who these people are?"
Yeah. So not it's not helpful to any of these companies to have that fraud or that scam, but it's the reality of what's out there.
And the one last thing I want to mention as far as payments go, and I hope this hits everybody and everybody can see this. If somebody, including a government agent, especially a government agency, says you have to pay for something with gift cards, the scammers will talk to people and they will tell them that they need to go somewhere. And they will, like I said, they're very helpful. They'll look it up on the map for you and tell you where to go. Go down to the Dollar General. I need you to go in here and I need you to get $200 in Visa gift cards.
Right.
I need you to get 10 of them. And you go in there and you buy these cards and you pay for them with your good money. And then they want you to read them the numbers.
Right.
And then they cash them in just like that over the phone.
Right.
Anytime anyone asks you for any payments with gift cards, it's a scam.
Yeah. So that brings up another type of scam. And that scam is emails that come from your boss into an organization. And that happened to me at a company I worked with a couple years ago. The CEO of the company, in quotes, was sending out emails to everyone in the company. I forget what it was. He was stuck on the side of the road and he needed money right now.
Oh, yes.
And I know it's happened in other organizations. And this
happened to our pastor.
Oh, okay. Church. Yeah. And so what's happening is these scammers are finding the addresses of the people who work in the organization, and on the website they see the person in charge. Right. And it gets back to that emotional response because a conscientious employee
want to help.
Listen to this, Mac Daddy, wants to make the boss happy.
Call me asking for money?
Yeah.
I'll be like, nah, bro.
but you have to be careful because I know it happened in an organization that I know very well where it wasn't, of course, from the boss, but they were asking people in the organization to run out to Starbucks and buy gift cards because they were in some kind of pickle. And a conscientious employee is like, oh my goodness, we'll work it out later, whatever the money is. Yeah. But I'm going to run over, I'm going to buy the gift card. And so I think that's important what you said, to be especially careful of any kind of transactions having to do with gift cards.
And let me parlay that into something you had mentioned earlier about AI. AI has gotten so good that people can use AI to imitate someone's voice and call you. So, for example, a scammer could call you, Andy, and have your son's voice on AI desperately pleading with you for something.
Right.
And get money from you that way.
Right.
I mean, that's unconscionable, but they do it because it works.
Yeah, I mean, AI has become amazing. We were offered here at the radio station where AI would mimic our voices as the people who work here and do up-to-the-minute news every hour.
Cool.
It is cool.
But scary.
Extremely. I mean, can you imagine my voice being used for something to promote something I completely disagree with? Yeah, it is scary. But you're right. They can mimic someone's voice, and it's your relative calling. They need help, and it all makes sense. And
so if my mom got a call like that, it would freak her out.
Of course,
she would. She's 86 years old. She's listening. Hi, Mom. And she would do whatever she felt she needed to do to help me.
Exactly.
And it's playing on that emotion again. It's playing on that fear.
Right. Wow. So we've been talking email addresses,
Website addresses.
Website addresses. Let's talk about that.
It's everything on the internet deals with domain names.
Okay.
An email address has somebody's name or some name at, and then a domain name. And you need to be able to find that domain name. And like I said, we're working on some visual tools that we'll have on our YouTube channel, hopefully, to help you figure out what the domain name is on an email address. Mm-hmm. Same thing goes with a website. When you click on a website and you need to be able to look at that, sometimes it's very long and cryptic.
Yeah.
But with the right instruction, it's very easy to just look at it and figure out what the domain name is, so that you know if you really are on Amazon.com.
Right.
Or if you have been taken someplace else and something is being faked. Right.
So there's a lot more to unpack here. Again, we're with Terry Speicher, identifyscams.com. I think it's a great idea for churches to invite Terry out for a workshop, for a seminar, also your business. We talked about how these emails can go out from the boss, but not really the boss, and everyone wants to please them, and they ended up getting scammed. And I've been in several different organizations where we had to explain to the employees, look at the email address, but there's a lot more with that. So go to identifyscams.com, hit that contact link, invite Terry to your business. He would love to do a seminar. We're going to go into a break. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
Are you looking for a Bible teaching church on the west side of El Paso? This is Terry Gray, pastor of Calvary Chapel, Sun City, and speaker on the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. here on this station. Calvary Chapel, Sun City is located at 960 West Borderland Road on the west side of El Paso. We hold services on Wednesday evenings at 7 and on Sunday mornings at 9 and 11. You can find out more information about us on the web at www.ccsuncity.org. The Lord bless you, my friends. Hey, KLP listeners, this is Pastor Terry Gray of Calvary Chapel, Sun City on El Paso's west side. I want to invite you to join me at a new time at 5 p.m. Monday through Friday right here on KELP. If you're driving home at 5 p.m. or doing work around the house or getting your evening started, I invite you to join me as we go through the Bible, chapter by chapter, verse by verse. There is nothing more valuable than the Word of God, so let's invest our time in learning more about it together each day. That's our Bible study program, Summons, each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on KELP.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you're listening to 915 Talk with Terry Speicher, identifyscams.com. These are conversations we need to have. We need to watch out for each other and for ourselves, for our families, for our loved ones. I know you've talked with people where a very large part of their life savings was taken away because they didn't know how scams work. They didn't identify it. I want to talk about another way that you were scammed. But before we do that, define the difference between a scam and fraud.
Sure. Real quickly. Fraud, if someone gets your credit card and they go out and charge something, that's fraud. You didn't do it.
Right.
You didn't authorize them to do it. So that's fraud. And you're not responsible for that. Even if someone were to take out a loan and then take money and leave and never pay it back, and they signed your name for it, you didn't sign it, so you're not responsible for it. And really, ultimately, it comes back to, let's say, the bank or the financial institution didn't go through the correct procedures to make sure that it was really you.
Right.
If they did, they would have asked for your driver's license. They would see that that's not you.
Right.
So that's fraud. And the key there is you're not responsible for that. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Check with your lawyer.
Yeah.
Check with
this
your
is
CPA.
purely for informational purposes only. We're
Thank
just
you.
two guys talking.
Scams are different, though. I mentioned the person who was scammed with Bitcoin. With Bitcoin or doing the gift cards, one of the reasons that scammers like the gift cards is there's no recourse. You got scammed, though, because you did it. The scammers got you to do something.
They got you to go to the store,
you bought it,
gift card.
You withdrew the money from your account. You gave the Bitcoin address. Whatever it was, the scam is you did it. And so the bank is not going to look at that and say, no, that's not our fault. They're going to look at it and say, you did it. You're responsible for it. And there's no recourse.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it is good to understand that both of those things happen.
Yes.
And kind of understand what situation you're in.
And again, part of this is to make you understand, if someone frauds you or defrauds you and takes money from you in that way, we talked about identity theft is the most common thing. The bank will be scamming you if they make you pay it. So it's very important to understand the difference.
Sure.
Fraud, you didn't have any control over. You're not responsible. You didn't do it.
Right.
Scams, you did it.
Okay, so tell us how else you were scammed here. That's what we really want to get to.
Yeah. So again, defining being scammed, I didn't lose any money. And by the grace of God, I will say, and my wife will back me up on this. I like figuring out the scams. I like figuring out what someone's doing, how a scam works. So I want to tell people
that's scary
about this scam, and I call it's called I guess it's called the employment scam.
Okay.
A lot of times you will get a text, and I got one just yesterday, a text from someone saying that they were with Indeed.
Okay.
So Indeed is an employment service. They match people up with employers.
I've been getting so many texts recently offering me work.
There you go. That's the scam. So it's an employment scam. I call it, and if you look on my website, I actually was happy when I figured this out because it was very intricate. I call it the click scam.
Okay.
So, and you'll see why when I explain this. So someone calls you and they say, hey, you can earn some money, up to $300 a day. Well, that's pretty good.
Sounds good to me.
So you start this and you get a trainer who talks to you first. Someone recruits you on a text message. Then they will usually flip over to something that's untraceable like WhatsApp or Telegram.
Okay.
And then once you flip over there and you start having this conversation with them, this is your...
Wait, hold on. I want to say that again. So they contact you originally by text. Usually. And then they're like, hey, let's move this over to a messenger.
Right.
Like WhatsApp.
Something that's secure.
Okay.
End-to-end encryption, and
they need the encryption.
Yes.
Okay.
Because their address is fake.
Right.
They could be anywhere in the world.
Right.
And they don't want you to be able to find them.
Right. Okay. Continue.
So they start through this employment thing, and the one I did, I thought, okay, well let's try this. Let's see where this is going.
Sure.
And so I follow what they said. They said go to this website.
So you were intentionally allowing yourself to be scammed?
Not at first.
Okay.
I have to be honest.
Okay.
I was intrigued by this, and I thought at one point I could work this system.
Okay.
Because I do programming, and I thought if I can hack this website a little bit or make a script that would do these things over and over again quickly, I don't even have to do it. I could open multiple accounts.
The work. Yes.
And make some money.
You would create a program that would do the work, and you would make some money.
So that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
I didn't know if I was going to do this. I'm not going to give up my day job, but
right.
I thought I'd try this out. So I start going through this, and what it basically entails, and there's different flavors of it, but I was able to understand that it's all the same. You go to a website, you register, and on the website, something has to be done. You have to click on things. I know that sounds weird. You're like, how can that be a job? The one I was at was a promotion for online sales.
Okay.
And the story they told me was that the different suppliers wanted to up the click count and the purchase count on different items.
So all you have to do is click on websites, and you're going to make $300 a day.
Well, you go to this website, you have your own portal, you log in, and then you've got to click through these items. And what you're doing is buying them.
Okay.
So you buy them, and as soon as you click on it, then you get the money back plus a little commission.
Okay.
The whole purpose is to up the sales on this item so it shows up better in this website's search.
Okay.
This is all what they're proposing to.
Okay.
So that something sounds legitimate.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay. And so you just go through and you click on these things. And the idea was you have to go through 2 sets of 50 items each.
Okay.
Okay. So to do this, though, you actually have to purchase the items. So you've got to send them some money. Guess how you send them the money? Bitcoin.
Oh, wow.
So they help you walk through getting some Bitcoin. And so you start with $50 or $100. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. You know, I may lose $100 if it's a scam, but let's see how it goes. So you go through this, and on until you hit an item that's called a triple. And so the first item, you bought it, but you don't get your money back until you do the second item. Well, now suddenly you don't have enough money for the second item, so you've got to send them more money.
Oh, wow.
And then you finish that, and you don't have enough money for the third item, you got to send them more money. And then when you get done, you get all the money back.
Oh, wow.
And this goes on and on. Every day you have to do this until you build up so much money and you're so happy with it because you're making good money.
Because it's working.
And it's working. So now they just don't give you your money one day.
Oh, wow.
So that happened to me, and I was very, very lucky. I thought I lost over $900.
Wow.
But the person made a mistake, and this is actually individuals doing this, and they sent me back my $900 because I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait to. And my stomach was in knots. I'm like, I just figured out how the scam works, and I possibly got scammed.
Right.
And they gave me my money. I said, oh, can't wait till tomorrow. I'm gonna go in bigger. So they sent me my money back, and I think they accidentally double-clicked on the button because they sent me $900 2 times.
Wow. Okay.
But by that time, I had figured it out, so I just took the money and ran.
Wow.
And
okay.
if you want, you can look on my website. I dedicated a whole thing that explains how that works, and I've got video proof of it and everything.
Right. Okay. Well, we're running out of time. A lot to talk about with scams and fraud. We've been with Terry Speicher of IdentifyScams.com. He's very passionate about helping out our community and making sure that we don't lose our hard-earned money. IdentifyScams.com. There's a contact there if you want him to come out to your business or your church and just talk about how all of this works, and hopefully we'll help out some folks in here in our community with that. Terry, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, Andy.
Yeah. And as we always say at the end of 915 Talk, let's learn to love our city, love our neighbor, and give God all the glory. This has been 915 Talk. You have been listening to 915 Talk, a production of Desert Voice Media. In order to listen to previous editions of 915 Talk, just visit desertvoice.media. Let's learn together to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory.